Oh, it's 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on a Saturday. That's right, I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and this is The Right Mindset. Every Saturday and Sunday, we do a live broadcast. Saturdays are educational with some writing business elements. And then, of course, as always, Sunday is the Write a Book with Me series, concept to conception. What's up? How's everyone doing today? We are going to go on and do our monthly live sprint and productivity. That means you could join me while I do these two 20-minute sprints where we ultimately support and elevate one another, and we are here to focus on writing. So we talk a little bit, make some jokes, maybe sing a lyric or two, and I answer a few questions, usually writing questions, preferably. And then, maybe if you have time, you could either take a nap for 20 minutes and wake up and hang out, or you could write your book, or you could edit, or you could do whatever. It's writing and or productivity. What do we got here? Yo, what is up, flowers? Afghani popped in here 2 seconds earlier before the show started. I don't know if he's here right now, but of course we always enjoy his company. Now, with that said, today is live, and we are doing the productivity sprint, so it's going to just be fun talking, and of course, at some point or another, we're going to be doing a 20-minute block. However, remember the poll below is, what is your best writing skill? We're asking everybody to vote today, just for the fun of it. We may or may not discuss it at the end of the hour, but it's always nice to sort of feel like we can be a part of something. What is your biggest writing skill? We have plotting and structure, we have character development, we have world building, and we have descriptions. It doesn't let me vote. I'm not allowed to vote. But I would probably say my best writing skill would probably be plotting and structure, then followed by character development, then world building, and then descriptions. I think that's the order of how it goes. And I only say that because I started in screenwriting, so plotting was more important than character development. You know what I'm saying? Like, it all kind of like cascaded down. But anyway, you let me know by voting in the pop below. All right. Other than that. What else? Oh, if you are writing today, what are you working on? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know. Are you working on your book? Are you working on cleaning up, editing, outlining? Are you writing some prose out today? What's going on? Or are you just relaxing, having fun, petting a cat, a dog, a turtle? Whatever the case is. I today will be working on continuing the 27 plot point outline book. I am on chapter 18 of 40 chapters. I may actually end up with less than 40 chapters, but right now I'm excited about where it's going. Not all the chapters are long. Some of them are like 1,000 words because they're just working on whatever the case is. But I'm officially working on the chapter where I explain and explore Section 18, the protagonist finds power within. And these are plot points 22, 23, 24. So I got to write that out. I'll be working on that today. What do we got? What do we got in the comments? Oh, nice. Chapter 35 for the flowers. Congratulations, by the way. You've gotten really far in that book, and that's no small feat or hands. But the truth is, at the end of the day, writing one word is difficult. So to write so many words in a row that you end up with 35 chapters is fantastic. Know that I'm very proud of you. I think you were saying that, aren't you at like 100,000 words or something like that? That's... Imagine each word was one person. You'd have a coliseum worth of hundreds of thousand people just staring right back at you. That's impressive. Afghani, hey, welcome to the show. Afghani is going to continue chapter thrace of a mini book. It's long chapters, multiple scenes in each one. That's what you got to do, Please keep it going. I can't wait to see that book come to a crescendo. That's the way to do it. Who else is in the room today? Give yourself a shout out, say hello, add to the conversation. We're all here to support, elevate, and love one another. We try to keep it as a supportive community. And trust me, we want to see, even if you're just starting out, we want to see where you're going and how you're going. Hey, Hannah Hahn, how's it going today? I've decided to have my Sleeping Beauty retelling inspired by a Christian song called Truth Be Told. And yes, this is probably my third or fourth title, Voice of Truth. Veiled Dream, Lies, and Shadows of. We're waiting for the next comment, I'm assuming. Or I kind of like that it ends, though. You know, there's more. Veiled dream lies and shadows of. That's pretty, that's sexy. 102,000.5. You had to get that 0.5. I'll be honest. When I tell people how tall I am, I say I'm 5'9" and a half. That half matters. You know what I'm saying? So I get the 0.5 thousand. I get that that aspect of it. All right. What we got here? A grace. Oh, I see. Shadows of grace. I also narrowed my chapters to 14 chapters instead of 45. It's very good. All right. As long as you're having fun, you know. You gotta be enjoying what you're doing, you know, and you gotta experiment. You know, who am I to say what the deal is? And I think it's just really powerful experience as it is to just be writing and getting these stories out, no matter what shape they form. You know, because everything has become something. You know, it's very important. That 0.5 is extremely important. I'm just saying. I went to the doctor, you know, for your checkups and stuff, and I said 5'9" and a half, and they're like, "Why don't you just tell people you're 5'10"? No one's gonna know. And I go, you know, technically, my sneakers give me an inch, you know, because of the meat on the bottom. And she goes, "Oh, so you're 5'11"? I go, "No, I'd be 5'10" and a half." She's like, "Nah, just round it up to a 5'11". So, you know, I'm just saying, maybe I am 5'11". All right. What we got here? I've written 400 words today, so anything else is a bonus. Wow, 400 words. That's pretty exciting. I'm proud of you for that. 400 words. That's at least what? Sorry. That's on me. It says stopping. Oh, wow. I got bad sleep last night. 400. That's about a page and a half, right? Unless you're writing double space, then it's 2 pages. And if you're writing with a font of 16 to 20, then it's probably like, you know, 80 pages. But I'm just saying. Impressive cut down. Yes, maybe Hannah took all the boring, all the fluff out and was like, let's just get to the gritty nitty of it all. It's based on the Morning Davos from Matthew West, where he explains each of the truths and lies, along with the guilts and graces in lie number 5. What is that? Cinque? Very interesting, Hannah Hart. Keep that going. You'll be 5:10 in the morning, and that's what it feels like. Sometimes when I wake up, I do feel taller until I get out of bed and realize I have the whole day ahead of me, and then I just shrink down. You know, I'm like my grandma. You know, my grandma was so tall when I was a baby, and then when I got taller, I was like, "What are you, 5'1"? You know, how's this going?" Anyway, for anyone who's just joining us in right now, today we're going to be doing a live writing sprint and productivity hour, which means we're going to do 2 20-minute blocks. You can do whatever you want. You can write during that time. You can, you know, take a nap, whatever the case is. But we're here to support one another and elevate one another and just kind of sort of be like, you know, hey, what are you doing today? But more importantly, feel free to ask me questions throughout the entire sprint, whether we're on a break or not. When I come back, I'll ask your questions. If you have writing questions about what you're doing or just writing questions in general, please ask your questions. That is why we're here. You know, I use Saturdays and Sundays as an opportunity to reach out to you all and help and just give advice. Remember, I'm a developmental editor and a writing teacher, so it's like free advice. You know what I'm saying? Also, if you haven't already, there is a poll to feel free to answer that. I think we're going to get started in a second, but ultimately, what is your best writing skill? Plotting, structure, character development, world building, or descriptions? I would love to know. And like I said, I will be working specifically on my 27 plot point outline, mostly because I finished this book. This book is available. You can go right to makearightleft.com and feel free to purchase that book. It would really mean a lot to me. All right, what do we got here? What's up, Ro? Welcome to the show, and everyone else. I have separated the 6 truths, where 3 are in Act 1 and the other 3 are in Act 3. Very cool. Look, whatever's working for you. That's what I always say. You know, don't worry about you know, the process of writing or the rules of writing. Just be you. Just enjoy what you got to do. I want to finish this book before October, so that I'll have a month to edit my first book and get ready to publish it. And then, NaNoWriMo! Keep in mind, don't rush That's what I'm saying, you know. The book is going to take as long as the book is going to take. You don't have to get it out by a deadline. I mean, it's good to have deadlines, but ultimately, don't stress. Bazinga! Remember when that was supposed to be his thing, and then they slowly took that out of the Big Bang Theory, slowly but surely, Bazinga kind of vanished. I think they knew it was done when they did the ball pit, and he was just like Bazinga, 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 and they were just like, yeah, we gotta step back from this. My New Year's resolution was to publish the book. Hey, that means you have time. You got 8, what is that, 9, 10, 11, 12, you got 3 months. You could do it. If your book ends up being, I don't know what you're at right now, but if your book ends up being, let's say 100,000 words, just for, right, divided by 3, you got to do 33,000 words. Let's say 35,000 words, just to keep it, right? And then you say divided by, what is that, 12. So you got to do 3,000 words a week? That's nothing. Divided by, let's say 7. That's 400 words a day, basically. You got this. You got this. I wanted to begin writing my book in January and finish by spring. Then I met Thomas. It happens. And you're welcome. All right. Best part was the ball pit. Yes, I agree. The ball pit was very funny because he's invisible. I wish ball pits were as deep as that ball pit, though, for adults, you know. I was aiming for Christmas, but I don't think I am anymore. That's okay. That's all right. It's not like you're writing a Christmas story, you know, so it's all right. Plus, you know, at the end of the day, the book's going to get done, you know, especially if you just keep at it. The book is already written. It's not the one I'm working on now. Oh, all right. Well, you'll definitely be able to get that out. Boom, boom, bang, ba-boom, ba-boom, bang. And remember to share your link when you do publish it so we can at least celebrate it. All right, everybody. We're going to jump into the first of 2 20-minute sprints. As always, this is a lovely 20-minute productivity nature timer that we use from Nicole Pierman, who's an author and a wonderful friend to this channel. So, you know, as always, you know, if you haven't already, please subscribe to her channel. What's this? I'm writing a humble love story. All right, let me get bigger for this. I'm writing a humble love story on the relationship between queer trans Thomas and a self-identified JD. What? I don't understand. Okay. Are you saying that you're writing something? I'm writing a humble love story on the relationship between queer trans Thomas and they self-identified JD. Any tips on how to write the tip of the bean? I think you're making a joke. That's fine. I don't know who you are or where you come from, but very funny. I don't understand the joke. I think you're just saying that there's a character named Thomas who is queer trans, and they identify as, I don't know what JD means. And then I guess the tip is the penal. All right, the minga. Not really Thomas's fault because I met him in March. That's true. It took us a little time. It took us a little time to get you to realize. I don't know. I do that. I make people think, you know. Let's see what we got here. So I was already behind schedule at that point, but no one's judging you, Ro. We love you. We love you. So I got written up for being sick. Well, if they write you up, the job is stupid. When it comes to health and family, I don't think anyone should ever get written up. That's on them, not you. You relax. They are right. Like I think the person's just being weird. All right, let's not start on the tip. Hey, Richard, what's up? I didn't know the party was starting. Richard is in the room. Hola, c'est la vie. All right. Anyway. All right, let's get into it. We're going to do a 20-minute sprint. But I didn't know the party was starting as soon as Richard got in here. What's going on? All right, boom, boom, ba-dang, ba-doom, boom, boom. Feel free to work on what you got to do. And one last reminder, if you haven't done already, so live. Oh wait, that's not it. The writing. There is a right. There's a poll. Feel free to answer the poll. Let's get some answers in there. We have 6 votes and there's 8 people watching. All right, let's go. Ba-doom, boom, 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 boom. Yo, we're back. Hello, hello. What's with you? Yeah. All right. So, as all things, we know. Let's catch up. Let's go back. Let's see what's going on. What's going on? All right. Let's see. Let's see. We have. Oh. This is actually not Shannon's timer. It is Nicole's timer. Hey, why is that up there? 1 second. Oh, boop, there we go. All right. Question: how would I do the 3 acts for my 14 chapters? Well, I would have to look at the chapters themselves, but when you're doing any outlining or any plotting or any act structure, it doesn't matter if you're doing the save the cat method, the 3 act structure, the 9 act structure, the 5 act structure, it doesn't matter. You don't look at chapters per se, you look at beats. What are the narrative beats that have to happen? So if you're going to only have 14 chapters and it's not a short story, you're writing a long form story, there's a chance that you might be writing too few chapters. But if you're writing a short story, there are certain beats that have to come out. So Act 3, if you're just basing it off the Act 3 that is generalized, you know, Act 1 should set up, have an inciting incident, basically a twist that propels them to call of action, and then leads them into the new world of Act 2. So with 14 chapters, I'd say, 1 second, 14 divided by 2, so divided by 2. So by chapter 4, you should be in your second act, and then, right, yeah. And then, let's see. Chapter 4, you should be in your second act. Let's see, -7. Okay. So, let's see. I'm trying to do the math for you. It's 4, and then +5. By your 9th chapter, you should be at your midpoint conflict, +5. Whoops. Wait, I think I'm doing that wrong. 1 second. 14 divided by 2, because there's... All right, so then that's divided by 2. So 3.4. All right. Yeah, it's supposed to be chapter 4. So it's chapter 4. Chapter 4. Boop. And then by chapter 8, you should be at your midpoint conflict. By chapter 12, you should be starting your third act, and then obviously by the end of chapter 14, you should be ending your narrative in one way or another. That's sort of, but again, I have to look at your narrative, I have to look at your chapters, and I have to look at your outline to really give you a direct thing. Because 14 chapters, unless it's a short story, seems a little light. But honestly, I'm more of an expert in the 27 plot point outline. However, I have used the 3-act structure, but again, 14 chapters of 3 acts. You might be dealing with multiple scenes, like each scene would be doing something, like a very specific beat. Because usually you wouldn't have 2 plot beats within one scene. Like, let's say we're looking at a film. In a movie, each scene is presenting one plot point forward. It allows for clarity and narrative logical movement. So if you relate that to a book, you have to look at it in the same way. You're either going to have one scene move a plot point forward, or you're going to have one chapter move the scene plot point forward. If you're writing a long-form narrative, I would recommend that one chapter moves the main plot forward. If you're writing short form, you could do one scene moves the main plot forward. Anything less than that might be a fast-paced or too quick narrative that sort of becomes exhausting, actually, to the reader, because they're like, what's going on? It's just flying by. Or in this case, if your chapters are really long and let's say one chapter has 5 plot forward scenes, that's a slow pace, dense, and it's hard for the reader to kind of like maintain engagement because they're being overwhelmed. But again, I'd have to look at work and I'd have to sit down with it. Tiptoe through the tulips. Right. Oh, great. We've gone from the tip to the lips. It happens all the time. That's what she said. Oh, yeah. Shucks. I'm always using this thing. You know I love you, Nicole. Hello again. What's up, bro? Welcome back. Waves. Was reading Thomas's book during the sprint. Finally got a highlighter after realizing it was more of a work study book. To be fair, it is written in conversational dialect. So I'm not using academia, academia words, but it is a big book. It's one of those books where, but I'll be honest, the first book is the thickest book, the biggest book. The rest of the books are anywhere from 50 to 70,000 words, and they focus on more specific things, whereas the first book set up the foundation. That's why it's the foundation of longevity, because at the end of the day, you have to set up your foundation and then learn how to manage your time, money, and the people around you. Then everything else is cookies. All right, now I need to check lighting a fire with 2 sticks. Oh, all right. So there's a couple ways you could do this, all right? You could either have the stick inside another smaller area, like a stick, a rock, or a surrounding roughage, okay? And then if you have a string or twine with you, you tie that to the tips of the other stick, then wrap the twine around the other one stick, and then you take a rock and put it on top, and you go like this, and you go really quick, and you got to make sure oxygen is able to get to the spark, okay? The other way you could do it is like this, and then there's like a long stick, and you put like a little kind of like cut into it. You should still look it up. I'm just giving away my Boy Scouts knowledge. With my grandson, I need to check if the dust that's caused is an ember. Oh, that's interesting. So I think that's what's happening is like the dust that you're creating is also causing the friction, which ultimately causes the roughage to spark up. Because I always think of embers as dying. Well, embers would be. I see what you're saying though. That's a fair connection to it because it is like the ending light of like say a charcoal ember or something like that. But the embers are those little, so you could think of it as just that little bit of spark off because embers could fly in the sky too. Like if there's a fire pushing stuff up and then the embers are like floating down. 2 matches work quickest for me, Flowers. So does a blowtorch. I'll be honest. If you're out in the forest, especially if you're cold, get a blowtorch. Or if you're inside, just turn the heat on. No, it's great. You need to focus. You definitely need to focus. I've had some really great feedback from it. I'm really grateful and blessed that I've been getting some nice messages and emails saying like, it's a lot of brain reframing. It's looking at the point and of how you pursue your career in entertainment or creative outlet. And it's like, oh yeah, wait, you're not saying I can't be this artist. You're not saying don't create, don't practice. You're not saying that, but you're saying, if I spend 10 hours writing, I'm not spending at least 8 hours working on my career. I'm just like writing. And then it's like, well, what am I waiting for? The end of the book to finish? And then like, am I just the book itself is going to create a career? All it's doing is trying to reframe you going, you have to set the foundation for your book to have an impact. A book by itself doesn't have an impact. You have to create that foundation that will accept the book and then propel it forward. So. Thank you for the advice. Also, I was thinking about doing a 6-book series on the 6 lies. Hannah, the best thing to do is just start, and if you're working on the book and then you decide maybe I should, continue it with other books, do it, but just get the writing going, get yourself in that brain space and you'll see what's going on. Yes, we watch those videos. Is the little Bernie bit called an ember? The ember, without looking it up, the ember is, actually, I'm going to just look it up. Let's just do it. Ember. It's a small piece of burning or glowing coal or wood in a dying fire. But the ember itself is not dying per se. But you can use it in the phrasing, the dying embers in the fireplace. But the embers are the edging, the small pieces of the burning on the edges or what remains of wood and or coal. All right, there we go. We learned some. All right. What else we got here? Back on tips, sticks, and holes again. By the way, I learned who this person was. I did some digging during the break. I know who this is, and I completely understand the humor. He's a very funny guy in real life. Very silly. I'm not going to give away who it is, but, he has really good weird humor, which I can appreciate. What have we got? You wouldn't think I was starting to write a naughty scene, would you? I always would think that. You write about vampires. They drink blood naughtily. They take poops naughtily. It's just what they do. This is the innocent bit. Right. Grandkids. Right. They are not Boy Scouts. I'll be honest. I was only a Boy Scouts because a family was in it. And they're like, you should be a part of the Boy Scouts. I learned a lot of great stuff. But I also learned how I am not capable of working with people when I'll give you the scenario and you tell me if I'm wrong. Okay? I'm putting this out there to the group. You tell me if I am wrong. All right? I'm about, I don't know, 10, maybe 11. My cousin, who is 7 years older than me, so he's 18 and he's like a whatever. He's like a boss, he's like a higher up. But he's my cousin. And I know him. I grew up with him. I am familiar with him. It's not like he's just my boss. He's my cousin. And I'm, again, 10 or 11. We were camping at this campsite, which was fun. And I wake up, and he says, all right, clean up the campsite. Now, just to be clear, this meant collect all the garbage, throw out the garbage. Then bring the garbage bags to wherever they had to go. Then take down the tents. At first, I'm like, okay, who am I working with? And he says, no one, just you. There were 30 kids in this. Anyway. So I looked at him. I said, no. I said, not only am I not going to do any of it now, but that's insane to ask somebody. And he's like, well, I'm your superior. And that is what I'm asking right now. Am I wrong for being like, I'm done? That you're not my you are. First of all, you're my cousin, and I know that you crapped your pants when you were younger. Two, I am 10 or 11, and you're making me do everything by myself. Not even one extra person who might be older than me, but somebody. And you want me to do, I was like, no. And then for him to be like, I am your superior. And that's where I have trouble in life, my friends. Even when I had like civilian jobs, and like you work in like a store or whatever, they'd be like, you got to do this. And then I'd be like, but why? And they'd be like, well, because I'm your boss. And then I'd be like, now you lost me. All you had to say was, because I need it done. And then I go, okay, great. But they're like, I'm your boss. But that doesn't give you, like when I was a boss for many people, I still said please and thank you. I still would be like, all right, I need this to get accomplished because these are the things we're trying to do, right? And I understand the idea is like, well, I'm paying you, so just be my extra hands and do the things. But you can't say because I'm your boss and then say, but we're also family. Like I always hated when business. Anyway, all right, that was a rant. But I don't think I was wrong, though. All right. Fab. Let's see. Yes, it's the glow in the charred bits. That's what she said. Grazie mille. What is it? No solo. I forget. I was proving he didn't have favorites to the group. Well, I like it. He was teaching me a life lesson. He was bigger than you too. He was definitely bigger than me. Okay. But this is where, again, I'm not a Christian or a Catholic, okay, but I did grow up around a lot of Sicilians, so they're mostly Catholics and Christians. Anyway, he is like a big, like he was gonna be a priest, and now he's like a principal at like a all Catholic school, but he was gonna be like a priest, not very priestly. Not very Catholic of him. I was like, I'm not a Catholic. I'm not going to suffer for your sins. Anyway, let's get back to the vampires. It's already 11. It's already 50. All right, let's do one more block. Let's do. Like mine, you mean? I don't know. I'm missing the reference because my brain was all over the place. I was dancing and romancing and singing a song. Yeah. Oh, man. I'm free. Okay, let's do it. Where are we today? Boop. Oh, my vampire priest is not very priestly. And that's why your vampires, and I'll say this for everyone, her vampires are fun to read about. Because when they suck blood, it's erotic. Okay. I think you'll find it is very touche. All right, let's do it. Where's the thing? Wait, let's go back to tree. Here it goes. Beep, beep, beep. Bloop. Oh, hello. Welcome back. All right. What's going on here? What's going on? I think that's it, right? Boop. Hey. All right. Can't go wrong with that. Oh, we got a comment. I'm supposed to remind you about going over writing practice exercises and how brainstorm ideas for them regularly to improve my writing skills. My writing skills. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Well, let me get a sheet ready. Let me uno momento, por favor. Yeah. All right mindset. And we gotta get a thing. We go to lessons. I gotta open up a new sheet. That's what we do here. We open up sheets. Look at these sheets. Look at these sheets. Look at these sheets. I don't know what today is. 8/23/25. All right. Let's see. We'll do that. We'll do this. Let's see. Page. Don't you want somebody to live? Don't you want somebody to live? You just wrote 587 words? Listen, Afghani. If ever I was proud of anyone, it's you. It's you, sir. It's you. All right, let's see. That's fantastic, man. 587 words? That's pretty sexy. Brought total for the day to 715. Talk about your numbers. Means you're kicking butt. I love it. I love seeing these exceptional numbers. These exceptional numbers. All right, we're gonna remove this. Let's remove the boop, and then we're gonna add a new screen. Let's do a new. We're gonna add a new screen. Do. All right. So before we go into the thing that we're gonna go over, because Ro brought up a thing, and I was like, please bring that up during the thing. So we're gonna go over a lesson where we basically remind you about going over writing practice exercises and how brainstorming and how to brainstorm ideas for doing them regularly to improve writing skills. All right, we are going to go over that, but before we do, I kind of want to go over what do we got here? The poll. Boop. What is the best writing? I don't really have a lesson for the poll, but it was a fun poll, so we'll just sort of go over it. If anyone hasn't voted yet, maybe I could hold off a little bit, because I know we still have people coming in. But the poll in the comments is, what is your best writing skill? Remember, it's anonymous. I can't see who votes for what. So if you feel embarrassed or self-conscious about your thing, or you don't want to feel like you have an ego or something, we don't know. So feel free to vote. It's plotting and structure, character development, world building, and descriptions. It's in the order that I would almost argue that that's where my expertise is. I am by fault a plotter and structurer as a developmental editor and someone that worked in the screenwriting industry. But more importantly, I love character development, because all narratives start with positions and motivations, and then world building. I love building worlds. I love magic, and then of course descriptions. But I'll leave that up a little longer. Let's go into. We're going to talk about something today. If you haven't done so, also by the way, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out. We're always here every Saturday, Sunday, live, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Plus, there's always a Wednesday, Friday video. That's right. Every Wednesday, there's a pre-recorded video, and every Friday, there's a pre-recorded video all about craft, all about the fun of life. You didn't have a button for none of the above. Oh, come on, flowers. Come on, flowers. Come on, flowers. This has to be look, even if let's say hypothetically somebody is poor at all those things, there has to still be something they are good at just in general with that list. Because, like, for example, when I first started writing, even as a terrible writer, I still had an area that I did excel in, even though it was still poor. So, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I said world building. That's a good one to pick. When will they come up with an AI that does thought to text? Oh, that it's coming because Elon Musk has that guy who's a cripple. He can't move his arms and legs. He's a quadriplegic, and he controls his computer with his brain. They put a chip in his head. Don't panic. I mean, flowers. Hey, bro. Hey, okay. But yeah, world building is a very good choice. Sometimes you need good world building. By the way, I was supposed to have a guest today, but they had to cancel, so I apologize. I was excited to have a guest. I was gonna ask Emma to be a guest. Hey, but she's like, I cook during this time, and I want nothing to do with you and your beard. She's busy, but no pressure. Yeah, I wasn't affected by it. Didn't emotionally bother me. Now stuff gets done. All right. Boop. All right. Boop. I do actually say that. Hi, Emma. That impression was uncanny. It was, right? I've gotten, and the British accent. I'll do the British accent again. It sounds good, right? I'm doing it right now. This is me doing a British accent. If I was from Britain, but since, all right. Also, we'll sort something out. We should, because the more time I get to spend with you, I think the more time I enjoy my life. I don't know what that means, but I know it's true. And that's just something we have to keep in mind. All right, so Ro brought up something. What are we got here? They'd better not stick a reader in my thought box. That's what she said. All right, so Ro brought up something, and I was like, why don't we talk about this on the weekend? And basically, writing practice exercises and how to brainstorm ideas for doing them regularly to improve my writing skills. So one of the things I talk about quite often, I think your translator's broken. Well, I try not to do the voices. I try not to do. How do we do this? How come this looks like that? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can you see the screen like this? No, just kidding. We'll just do it this way. Also, I'd like to do something for my channel with you about your longevity book. Listen, Emma, it's an automatic yes with you because you're a friend, and I respect you, and I obviously adore you, and obviously I'm always going to say yes to my friends. Hopefully though, I can live up to the value and elegance of being associated with you, because I'm always trying to do better. We're only human, and I do believe when people falter, we have to find the greatness in their ability to work to get back to who they were. However, if they keep doing it, judgment. All right, let's get into it. Going over writing practice exercises and how to brainstorm ideas for doing them regularly to improve. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some things you could do to exercise. So before I sort of jumped into the being humbly asked to be a part of Emma's channel in the future, I say this often: don't only practice when you write, which means most authors will write their book, and that is their practice. We have to learn how to practice outside of writing a book. I'm totes elegant. It will be hard for you to keep up. Well, that's why I'm 5'9". I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10". And gets me to the heights. So when you're practicing, you should not wait until you write a book or you're working on a book. It's okay to practice things in beats, in skips, in hoppity-doo-dah days. For example, when I was more in the music industry and I was practicing different instruments, I didn't only practice guitar when I was writing a song, performing, or recording. I would sit there and I would humbly spend hours working on picking exercises and finger exercises and understanding the scales, but not just what the scales were, but also how they relate to other things and how to figure out patterns of those scales and how to connect those scales to chord progressions. Okay, so with that said, thus the reason I ask for today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm 5'4" today, and tomorrow, funnily enough, you'll be 5'3". So I approach writing in the same way, and this is basically some things I do to practice. Okay, for brainstorming, you're 6'2", Em? I love it. I love it. Good. All right, so when I'm practicing, if I'm going to practice, so let's focus on brainstorming, and then we'll go to other practices. But if I'm focusing on brainstorming, what I do... 4'11", that's like perfect height for a walk in the park. When I'm brainstorming, what I'll do is I do outlining exercises, so I'm not going to go over that per se, but I am going to go over what it would look like to brainstorm and to sort of build on ideas, because the purpose of brainstorming is to exercise your ability to connect or evolve or try things, right? So word association, things like that. So we're going to go over it. I'm exaggerating. I'm 5'10". See, you lost, all right. So what you do is, if you have an idea, just jump on it, right? You might say, maybe you have a concept, right? You have a concept. And by the way, I'm not going to do an outlining exercise, but this is what I do to brainstorm. Okay, so I might be like, I don't know. Let's see. Let's think about it before I write. We have okay. So a crime novel told from the POV of the serial killer. All right. Okay. Then, right off the bat, what's this? I meant brainstorming as inventing exercises. Oh, all right. Okay. You want exercises. Well, this is an exercise. This is an exercise. This, sir, is an exercise. And this helps you. What does this exercise do? It's going to help you when you're working on a story and you don't know where to go with it. Okay? But the only way you can build on an idea is doing exercises like this, where it trains your brain to think and to explore. All right. So, but right off the bat, as soon as I wrote this sentence, my brain jumped to a dual POV cat and mouse narrative. Okay? So this exercise, what this helps me do is I don't commit to story ideas. I just sort of like allow myself to write a sentence or a thought or idea. I'll sit here too and I'll think just like I did. And I go, all right, let me write that down. And because I'm writing it down, it actually develops a new idea. It helps me look at it in a different way, because now I'm reading a crime novel told from the POV of the serial killer. And then I'm like, wait, it might be more interesting and more engaging if it's a dual POV cat and mouse narrative where the detective is chasing the serial killer. Okay? But what this means is, by allowing it to be a dual POV, no one character is the main protagonist. It's just two protagonists working. And here's the other thing. The serial killer will win. Right? Let's say that's something I change or something. But the idea is, how do I challenge and subvert things? How do I... Right? So this is an exercise I do to help me develop narratives. So even if I'm working on my own story, whatever the case is, this is what I would do. I would, if I had nothing, I would start with this. I would start sort of kind of thinking to myself, how do I build on things? But the idea is I try to go against the grain first. And then, you know what? I'm probably going to clean it up. I'm going to refine it. And that's what you should be doing. In this situation, if you notice, the first thing I wrote was, it's a crime novel told from the POV of the serial killer. So instead of it being about a detective trying to discover or find something, I am working from the opposite side. So that is a subversion right off the bat. Why do I like subversions? Honestly, it makes it more interesting for me as a writer. I don't want to write what people know. In fact, the epic fantasy novel that I'm working on is a subversion in itself. It's the chosen one, and I subvert it deeply. It's the chosen one revenge lost prince story, completely subverted. It is nothing that you expect, but it has the elements you would want in those tropes, but then it is not what you expect. And I've been getting a lot of great feedback on that from my alpha and beta readers. But ultimately, that's how I like to play it. I like to start off with an idea, and then I like to subvert that idea. So this is one exercise I do to build on things. As far as coming up with, I'm trying to understand, brainstorming as inventing. So coming up with exercises. I'll be honest. I think you're saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Ro, because I'm very welcomed to criticism. Are you saying how do you? Wait a minute. Are you saying show you ways to develop exercises? Because I have a lot of exercises that I have developed. I've been in this industry for over 20 years, so I'm not really somebody who sits down and goes, what kind of exercise could I do? I just have so many exercises that I have been taught either by mentors or from reading writing books to exploring it myself, but not necessarily coming up like, sitting down going, how do I figure out writing exercises? Just, for example, when I was first starting to get in long form narrative, I knew immersion was important. I knew showing was important. And I was like, I need to practice that. So I've talked about this many times. I would just practice immersion. I would focus just on one sense. Because mostly we write in sight, I would write a scene just in smell. I would write a scene in just sound. I would write a scene, and by the way, it'd be like 500 words. It wouldn't be long. Maybe even a passage. That's what I thought you were asking. Yeah, I don't really have techniques to brainstorm to come up with exercises, but I have a plethora of exercises. And the current one I'm discussing is ultimately that helped me understand how to place these sensory elements into a scene. Because if I could write a page worth or a scene worth of just sight, of just sound, of just taste, whatever the case may be, it helped me say, all right, well, how do I, when I'm reading through for my second draft, how do I read through the scene and say, all right, what can I add to this? Now, how's that exercise help me? Well, here's an example. In chapter 3 of the epic fantasy book, it talks about there's a bard, there's a female protagonist bard. It's a secondary protagonist. I noticed that she's in a city, but the city didn't have character. The city didn't have life, though I did mention elements of the city. I knew that to make something feel lived in, to make something feel active, to make something feel like it is doing something, I knew I had to add sensory elements to it. And it's because I've learned how to do that and how to insert those things. I was able to hone in on things that might not necessarily be traditional sensory elements. So, it's the little things, the sounds, the smells, the way those smells make you taste something, right? Or how they trigger a thought or an idea. Because sensory elements should be more than just descriptive. They should be physically partnered with the character's POV. Because remember, unless you're writing third-person omniscient, every passage you write is from a POV of a character, which means however they explore that scene is going to be through their defining characteristics, their positions, their motivations, How do you come up with them? Any advice, examples you can offer? Otherwise, I'll just keep asking you for assignments all the time. Well, assignments would probably be easier because I haven't really had to brainstorm exercises because I've been in this industry for 20 plus years. So any exercises that I have were either people gave them to me and I modified them, or I read about them and I modified. By the way, modified is the magic word here. Anytime you learn something. Eventually, you have to figure out how to break it and make it work for you. So that's always good. I have an assignment for you. Finish a novel. The first novel in the epic fantasy is finished, but it is on Patreon. You have to. It will be officially September 1st is when the Patreon tier will be available, and it will show you the evolution of that novel as well. So it's going to be you're going to see the short form outline, the extended outline, the zero draft, the first draft, and then pretty much the third draft. And then once you finish all of that, you will be gifted the final draft version of it. But it's right there. Nice assignment. I have finished many a novels, but again, I'm not releasing for publication to like a hard copy or soft copy until all 5 books are finished in that series. And I'm already working. If you look at my website, makearightlefthear.com, you'll see that I am quite far on numerous novels within that series. I'm not gonna R.R. Martin you people. I'm not gonna be like, hey, here's the first book, and then like not have a book come out. Be like, it's been 13 years. He just got asked a crazy question at a convention. They go, hey, Mr. Martin, you're probably going to die before you write the book. So have you thought about having someone else write it? And before you say anything, I noticed Brandon Sanderson is sitting next to you, and he came on and took over for Jordan when he passed away and did the Wheel of Time. Maybe Sanderson, you could take over. And it was the most uncomfortable and awkward kind of sort of like panel. Authors were getting up and they were just like, we're done. This is not right. It was very funny. I mean, it was terrible, but it was very funny. How would I type my story outline on one of your templates? Well, I will explain that in the most simplistic way as I can. Basically, what you do is you, by the type, you mean outline. You don't mean actually write the chapters. Right? To outline your book into the template, you basically take each plot point. So, for example, the ordinary world, and you'd write 1 to 3 or even 4 sentences that explain what needs to happen in the ordinary world. Though you can also bullet point it, and you could be like, I need, to explain. I need to show the political elements, or whatever the case is. I need to show the relationship between the parents. I need to show the relationship between the friends. Whatever the thing is. Then the second plot point is the inciting incident. So you have to say to yourself, how do I disrupt what I just set up in the first plot point? And that's something that often distracts authors and writers from moving forward. They think that maybe they have to come up with something completely different than what they had before. Like they'll be like, oh, this happens in the scene, so now I have to create a whole new scene that isn't necessarily connected to the scene beforehand. But if you set up an ordinary world, look at that ordinary world and ask yourself, how can you disrupt it? Whether it's a romance, whether it's horror, whether it's crime, whether it's action adventure, whether it's fantasy. The outline should be guiding you, not only by the rules, for example, if you're looking at this, okay, the plot point, which by the way, it could be a chapter long, it could be 2 chapters, 3 chapters, whatever. You got to figure out how many chapters you need to do the very specific thing, which in this case is the ordinary world. How do you set up the ordinary world? Let me make this a little bit bigger for everybody. Bleep, 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 bleep. Okay. And let me do this. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So if you were writing your book and you were outlining, you have to say to yourself, what is the ordinary world of my protagonist, right? Because you would do the 27 plot point. You could either do it in basically, I use the main protagonist's main character arc as my main plot, and I sort of outline that, and then I seed and intersect other characters and stuff like that. But in this situation, what you would do is you'd go, all right, what is that ordinary world? And then as a writer, you're supposed to take what you put into the ordinary world and then figure out ways to break it, disrupt it, mix it around, adjust it, whatever the case is. You don't have to necessarily, as one might say, come up with something completely outside the world. Like, you don't have to be like, all right, they're living on a farm and they're married with a kid, and then the disruption of the world is that on another planet somebody discovers gold. Right, that would be over. Like, it has nothing to do with the ordinary world that you established. But more importantly, let's say the ordinary world was a couple that was married and has kids. If the disruption of the world has to do with a character that was not introduced in the ordinary world, that would not be a disruption of the ordinary world. That would be continuing introducing the ordinary world, because it's new information. It is creating the status quo. A new character is a status quo. However, if that new character comes in and disrupts the world of the established protagonist, then that would be fine. So that's how you would do it. You would just follow the rules of the outline. It's very straightforward. What do we got? It's for Ro. Oh, oh, are you talking about this book? Are you saying finish this book? I'm getting there. I'm working on it. It's going to be published. Don't worry. That book I will publish. Brandon Sanderson is way too different a style to finish Martin. Not only do I agree with you, but so does Sanderson. Sanderson came out and was like, if he was asked to do the book, he would say no to the series, just because of that reason. He's like, that's not how I write. Hey, Hannah Hart. I wrote a story back in high school, Afghani. Recently restarted a story I was working on about 11 years ago. By the way, Ro is 24. No, imagine. I've been writing since I was 1 year old. Learned a lot from Thomas and would like to build my skills regularly outside of just writing my story, as he was saying a little bit ago. Yeah, Ro, just to give you some advice, practice. Look, the first thing you should be practicing, or rather, put a list together. What does a novel need? What does a narrative need? It needs to have a plot. It needs to have story, which is the unfolding of the plot through the characters' emotional experiences and choices, right? But, so that means you also need character development. So that's three things. And then you need immersion. You need sensory elements. You need the world. You need the processing. You need all these, right? And you have to just put a list together of the things that all narratives need. And then you start at the top and you say, how good am I at this? And honestly rate yourself 1 to 5. 1 being, you have no idea what this is, and it's on the list, and you didn't realize it should be on the list. And 5 is like, this is something I'm very good at, which kind of goes back to the thing we're working on. What is your best writing skill? But more importantly, 3 would be, I'm in the middle. I know what it is. I can do it. I'm competent, but I'm neither bad or good at it. Anyway, you do that with the whole list, and you look at that list and you say, what do I need more work on? I need to learn what all my 1s are, and definitely what my 2s are. My 3s should be at least 4 at minimum, but not all of them need to be higher than 3, because it could be something as silly as first person POV, because that would be on that list, right? Different POVs, third person POV, third person limited POV, third person omniscient, third person limited rotating, which is also shifting narrative. First person, there's fourth person POV, there's second person POV. That should all be on your list. But you have to decide what is your writer journey. I don't think, well, first of all, I know most people in the world that are writers will see fourth person POV. It would be a 1. They don't know what it is. And why should you? A smaller group of people might know what a second person POV is, but again, that might be a 1, and you'll never have to make it higher than a 1, because even if you learned what it is, you're like, I'm not writing that. Like, writing second person or fourth person, second person is so uncomfortable to read. It's like you enter a room. No, I don't. I'm sitting in this chair. All right, I'm just saying. But write out that list. Give yourself a 1 to 5 chart for each item, and then start figuring out which ones you need to put some work in, and just create exercises based on that. And those exercises would be just implementing the thing. For example, zero draft might be on that list. Well, what is a zero draft? I've showed you how I do my zero drafts, but not all zero drafts are the same. It's just dumping information and trying to find out what is the scene. So you just work on doing that. Not for your stories, just in general. You just come up with an idea on the spot and you work on it. And it's not going to be an idea you're going to put your whole life into. You do a chapter, or you do whatever, a page. Same thing with POVs. I want to get better at writing first-person POV, even though it's not something I normally do. So I'm going to write a page worth of first-person. And then what I would do also is, if you wrote a first-person POV and you did a page of that, stop, go back to the beginning and say, how do I make this better? I have other things I could exercise. Let's add more sensory elements. Let's add more immersion. Let's work on line editing. Let's create concise, though I don't believe all sentences need to be concise, but they need to have clarity and they need to get to the point. Then you have the 3 rules. All sentences must have one or more of these 3 elements: plot forward, character development, or world building. And you look at each line, you go, are they doing one of those 3 things? If not, you know you have to either add it or take it out. But that's what you do. You create that list of opportunities. Opportunities being, what does every narrative need? And then you have to figure out what it is you're going to use in your arsenal and what your tool set is. And then you rate everything 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. And then you work on that. That's what I would do. I know that was long-winded. I don't think I write enough when it comes to description. My longest paragraph when it comes down to description is 3.5 lines. I think I have gone too far with every word has cost. I haven't even seen your writing, and I would agree with that. And I'll tell you why. Because you're not supposed to be writing description to write description. Description is supposed to come through the purpose of the scene or the character, for example. The room, the taste to it. Smelling old life and lost opportunities. Nothing about the walls ensured safety. Protection. Those holes and broken windows. Nothing more than relics of a time long forgot. Okay, so a couple of things. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Boop. All right. Why is it like that? Jesus. What's going on here? All right. So this is just description. This is just description for description's sake, right? And oh wait, you said 3.5 lines. Let's do one more line. Even the floorboards creaked with every step that braved over them. Okay, so that's a little lyrical, but all right. So this is 3 sentences. All right, let's just make sure. I definitely spelled everything wrong. Insured, holes, nothing. See what I'm saying? Long forgotten. I don't really put a lot of thought into the first draft. I don't worry about spelling or anything until later. All right, so going back to M's, I don't think I write enough description. Remember, it's not about writing enough description or description at all. Description needs to come through the characters. Right now, there's no character here. Maybe you can argue that there's character here, okay? But if we, anytime description is written, it needs to, A, come from the protagonist or the character of the POV. B, it needs to be narratively important. How does it establish something? Again, if it's from the POV of a character, we're establishing character development because it is what they are noticing. It's how they are experiencing it, right? So if you're writing a description for description's sake, you should actually be looking at how do I clean it up and take it out. So the room had a taste to it, right? Right away, let's say this is in first person, by the way. I open that first door. Shunning away. the room. Now we just get right here. Tasted. The room had a taste about it. Add to it. All right. Smell of old life and lost opportunities. Okay, now I know I could just do this. So right away, now we're creating experience, and the room's a description. So this is a qualifier. Remember we talk about logical narrative movement and how each line, the preceding line should be built on. So qualified, explored, or evolved. Explored or elevated, or whatever the case is, where you're trying to say, all right, what element from the previous sentence do I need to build on? That's the problem with description. For description's sake, it's not necessarily doing anything, and for it to not feel like a slow pace, or at least have a fast read to it, you want to connect it to the emotional truth of a character. So the character, I opened that first door, shunning away with my arm over my mouth and nose. The room had a taste to it, a smell of old life and lost opportunities. So not only is this like sort of like character opinion, character thought, but they are physically reacting to it, and then we are qualifying what they feel the taste is. So now the description of the room has been earned. Now, obviously, if I do a second draft or a third draft or even a fourth draft, and if I get a line editor or a copy editor to come in, this is all going to be refined. But as a first draft, the thing you should be looking for, let me repeat that. As a second draft, what you should be looking for are opportunities to connect description to character POVs and allow those descriptions to be qualifiers. It's like when somebody writes a scene where they go, it opens up to build the scene, right? And it goes, the mountains in the distance reach the clouds of the sky, the mountains in the distance pierce the clouds in the sky, reaching to the heavens. The blue of winter seed could not be seen in the orange of the dusk. All right, and that's not doing anything. It's just description. Even if it was like the mountains in the distance, the dark blue mountains covered in snow reached up and pierced the orange clouds of Krus. Like, it's still not doing anything because it's not in a POV. It's not being earned. And just when you're writing, you should earn your descriptions. And the best way to do that, or one of the best ways, is through a character recognizing these things. Again, unless it's omniscient, then it's probably going to be told more like, sitting at the hearth kind of story. Like, it was the night before the third, and still in the 6th summer of the 7th fall, Christoph, walked the plains, 8 days from death. That's omniscient. All right, but that is a way that now. Hello, but now it's okay because it's through the POV of the narrator. Anyway, I hope that actually helped. When you think of this stuff like this, it's not necessarily you're writing long paragraphs with 3.5 lines of description. You should just be saying, are those 3.5 lines of description connected to something? And now it's not an issue that this 3.5 lines, just on face value. Obviously, if I looked at it, or you had an editor look at it, or you were doing some like the real work, which is the editing part, but at like face value, if they are connected to something and they're qualifying something and they're being earned, then ultimately description is no longer description for description's sake. It's doing something. It has value. All right. And check it twice. I'm sorry. I don't know what that has to do. I talked for so long and then I have no reference that I apologize, Afghani. I apologize. I opened the template you showed earlier, but I can't seem to start my outline on it. Probably because it's a PDF. So you can't write on a PDF, but what you can do is you could open up a new file and then write plot point 1, ordinary world, enter to go underneath it, and then write your first bit of information, and then so forth and so on. You cannot add or write to a PDF unless you have a Adobe program that allows you to do it. My writing is a series of 1, 2, and 3 line paragraphs. Don't know if it's good or bad thing. My writing is a series of 1, 2, and 3 line paragraphs. 1, 2, and 3 line paragraphs. I don't really have advice until I see. I'd write something like this. Yes, please, M. Show us. Give us a little taste. Give us a little look-see. So we can celebrate your writing. Do 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 do. Sorry, somebody's messaging me. Let me just. Yeah, no problem. Same to you. Okay. I think I have the opposite problem. Flowers, please go into depth with what do you mean you have the opposite problem? I'd love to hear the opposite problem. Give it to me. But starting the editations will whittle that out. Oh, I'm assuming you're talking about you go a little dense, you go a little thick, you maybe add a little bit more. I don't know. I guess M is still writing, so that's good. Let's look at the. Oh, look at that! 9 votes on the what is your best writing skill? Let's call it a day with that. Plotting and structure at 22%. Description and plotting, both 22%. Character development. So it looks like a lot of people at 44% chose world building. Excellent. I would recommend to anyone who didn't choose the other elements to almost connect it back to Roe's question as earlier. Am I saying you have to write out a list of things that all narratives need and then work on that? Plotting is something that should be up there. Plot and structure is without a doubt the gold of any narrative. Without strong plot and strong structure, it doesn't matter how fancy your words are. It doesn't matter how much world building you do. It doesn't even matter how much character you have. It will fall flat because there'll be holes. Nothing will connect. There'll be no cause and effect. It'll be a lot of this and then this and then this and then this instead of this happens, therefore that happens. But because that happened, this happens, right? So there's a lot of that stuff going on. But world building does not require writing. Well, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. But ultimately, without plot or even character development, the descriptions and world building almost are there to be there, you know? All right, let's see. I like it. All right, M. May I call you M? All right, M. Ham. 1 second. Boop, boop. Is it all right if I put this on the screen and kind of like walk through it on the white page and like do some playing around with it? But I'll read this. The blue sedan waited at the checkpoint, engine running, driver behind tinted glass. Jake counted exit routes as they walked. 7 possibilities within 100 meters. 3 immediate. That'd be fun. Can I put it on the white screen? Would that be okay with you? I'd like to play with it. The blue sedan waited at the checkpoint, engine running, driver behind tinted glass. Jake counted exit routes as they walked. 7 possibilities within 100 meters. 3 immediate actionable. I like that level of description, Em. Yeah. There's a couple of things I have questions on, and I would probably work on and adjust. But like the blue sedan waited at the checkpoint, that's good. Engine running. I keep thinking of Cake's thumping in time. Engines running and thumping in time. Lights go down and the all right. Driver behind tinted glass. Jake counted. Where I would say. All right, excellent. Bloop. All right, so where I would say we have some work to do is it feels like 2 different. So remember, movements. I talk about movements a lot. A movement is like every sentence has a movement, and every passage has a movement. Technically, this creates a new movement. Obviously, please correct me if I'm wrong, but is Jake the one in the blue sedan, or is Jake the one walking? So according to this, Jake counted exit routes as they walked, but this is not directly connected to Jake. So these are definitely two movements just on the page, but at the same time, was thinking of Cake too. I know, engines pumping and thumping in time. The running light flashes. All right. But here's the thing. This is again good description, right? It creates a visual. It allows us to see what's happening. There's a blue sedan. The blue sedan waited at the checkpoint. Engine running. Driver behind tinted glass. By the way, just for a record, these are technically fragmented sentences, but in creative writing, that's okay. So if you're using like Grammarly or like Quillbot, it's going to say, hey, these are fragmented. You got to fix it. But in creative writing, you got the freedom to sort of do what you want. But please, M, can you clarify if Jake is the one in the car, and if he is, how is he also walking? I like this. This is 7 possibilities within 100 meters. 3 immediately actionable. I like this because if you're doing this on purpose, this is directly connecting to Jake, and it's qualifying process. So this is Jake process. So far, my biggest critique is that it shouldn't be one passage. It should be 2 passages but my second critique, and this is important, Jake was... What? Am I... My dyslexia is like, what is that word? Do you mean captured? Jake was captured and is being led to the car. Oh, okay. The blue sedan waited at the checkpoint. Engine. That's why I was thinking. All right. So here's my critique. Remember, in writing, context first, challenge second, resolve third. You have these backwards. You have and I know it's only one passage example. But let's say this is as you're saying, that too flowered. Let's say this is, as you're saying, he's being brought to this car. That means this would not be one passage. You would definitely create a second movement, okay? But in writing, there is a disconnect to this because you need to set up the context and I'm sure that maybe the passages beforehand, there's some exploration of like, take him to the car, whatever. I'm sure you probably have a line like that. But this by itself, this is technically the conflict, and this would be the context, because Jake counted each route as they walked. 7 possibilities within 100 meters, 3 immediately actionable. Jake sounds like a badass. He definitely sounds like a badass. He's like, yeah, because he's putting some throat to him. My only thing is I would probably connect this to the car. If this is the opening scene, counted exit routes as they walked to the car, I walked. I like that. The 3 immediate. You have to connect this line to the car. That's otherwise the logical narrative movement is being missed here. So and like I'm saying, like my brain is trying to connect it, so that slows down the reading because like what is going on, and it's confusing because until you explain that he's being brought to the car, that's not necessarily being represented in the text. But as far as your this is just description for description's sake until we connect it to something, and the blue sedan waited at the checkpoint, engine running, driver behind, tinted glass. I'm just using this as an example, but or they I don't know if this is in first. Oh no, they led Jake. Actually, they led Jake to the blue sedan. Waiting at the checkpoint. All right, engine running, driver behind it. All right, so now there's context. Now we know what he's doing as he's being led to the. And what's still happening here is they led Jake to the blue. Even if we took the led Jake out, the blue sedan waiting at the checkpoint. This is a qualifier. Engine running. That's a qualifier, right? You're building on the description of the sedan, that it's a car and that it's moving. And then driver behind the tinted glass, that's still qualifying. And it's nice that it has like that rhythm, boom, 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 because it's, the blue sedan waiting at the checkpoint, engines running, driver behind. Like it has a good staccato to it. But now Jake is directly connected to the First Pro, and therefore the logical narrative movement. But taking out that element, I think what you were really asking about is ultimately description for description's sake. But this is description for description's sake, and you have to connect it to Jake. All right, you have to have context, and clarity is more important than description, because you can't challenge what we don't understand. But if you can connect this to the character, then this is fine. And also, this is great. This is really strong, because this is like inner processing, and it really builds on the character development. So, at the end of the day, it's pretty good. Earlier on in the scene, there's a car waiting at the north checkpoint, blue sedan. Get in, and we'll make sure Anna gets proper. Yeah, all right. Well, that's what I would suggest. That's what I'm just basing my lesson on two different elements. I believe I even mentioned, I was like, there's probably a thing where they're like, get in the car, you die. Which is ultimately what you said, right? Like, except it's Anna. Anna. Make sure Anna gets proper medical care because we just shot her in the toe. Anyway, as far as your description, though, this is the only one that I would suggest needs a little work. But the choices of description are good, and the staccato of your writing is fantastic. And by the way, and I'm saying this in a positive light, I'm not saying this negatively, but it's very simple and straightforward, and that's good, Did you say this earlier? How come when I write the career, making French toast for the chance, I feel like characters are falling apart, rather? Well, listen, Nate, if I were you, and I'm not you, Nate, but if I were you, okay, my photographer friend, then come together in one queer union and not a thing. Obviously I'm not gonna, you're obviously making a joke, but listen, how you been, by the way? Did I ever tell you? All right. By the way, I worked on set with this boy. Apparently he's a cum lover. That's funny. I like the AI face you have as your new. You changed your YouTube channel. It took me a second, but I was like, I'm doing great, Nate. I'm doing great. I miss you, buddy. We haven't worked in a long time together. It's been a while. Are you still working in the industry, or did you walk away like everyone else who's like, I don't have time for this BS? But I am doing good, man. I miss you. It took me a second. I was like, what is this person? And then I was like, oh, I know this guy. Also, I don't talk to JD anymore. We don't use that word. Forget that word. All right. Wow, I've been doing this for 2 hours. All right, everybody. I didn't realize it. Let's get the talk down. Let's get all the stuff out. Remember, if you haven't, bloop the beard, bloop the like button. It's important because interaction helps the channel grow. I'm a simple person, so I take it as a compliment. I assure you it's a compliment. There's nothing wrong with simplicity. There's nothing wrong with not writing lyrically or using complex sentences. Not by when I say complex sentences, that's the structure of the sentence, not that it is you're writing an intelligent, complex sentence. No, it just means that there's more than one clause and you're connecting things through. Anyway, love your story about how you became a transfer back in '06. I stopped acting back in 2020 because of the pandemic. Had to move upstate. Yeah, that pandemic definitely shut down everything. But I assure you, you're better off. I have a couple buddies right now. They're just like, they're losing work. There's I have a friend who just she's like consistently working. She's a writer and everything, but she has to look for like work. She has to look for a job because the writing opportunity is being pushed aside for AI. And she's like in the business, like she writes for big shows, and I feel bad. And now AI has just basically shrunk everything down. It's just crap. I feel bad for everybody who's dealing with all that. What was I saying? All right, let's keep it going. Yeah. So also, if you didn't know, I have this book out. Please go to makearightlefthehere.com. If you haven't purchased it yet, I assure you, it's a good read. It's excellent. It has a lot of my humor in it too. So if you like my humor, and of course, on September 1st, you will be able to, without a doubt, start reading this book. But more importantly, the way the book will be worked out is on Patreon, and the first run through will show you the process. It will show you the short form, the extended, the zero draft, the first draft, and the third draft. And then once you finish the entire book, you will be gifted the entirety of the polished draft and the fun draft. So it'll be a present gift to you. Additionally, this book is flying by. I will have something. More importantly, I can't wait. And I think that's everything, right? I think that's everything. Oh, yeah. Subscribe. We talked about subscribing. We talked about that. I think we got everything. We did the answers. We did. Okay, we're good. What do we got here? That said, the industry was hard before. Now, yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah, I mean, I could probably talk for days about this, but the short reality of it is like, even the Oscars. There's a thing about the Oscars where like you can't even have a film be nominated for an Oscar unless it like fits into certain qualifications, and that's basically what the industry is turning into. It's just like they're ripping apart the fluidity of it and saying, no, this is what it needs to be, or you can't do that. Even the union, as much as I do love the union still, and I'm a SAG member and everything, and I support the union. There used to be a thing called new media contract, and the new media contract basically allowed you to do a no budget project, to film it, put it on YouTube, and then because I was union, if somebody was in the project with me, they would get their Taft-Hartley, which basically meant that they could become SAG members. But usually you have to get 3 waivers, and to get 3 waivers, there's a whole thing involved. So if you're just doing background, you have to be elected into a SAG member because they didn't have enough SAG members, so they'll give you a waiver and you get SAG. Or you have to do a speaking line, or you have whatever. It takes forever. But they took away that freedom, and now it's like costs way too much money just to do a free project, just to help other people get into the union. It's because they want people that are quote unquote doing it full time or professionally, and they want real actors. But like, how do you help people? How do you help things grow? How do you give people chances if you're just like, how do we stop people? Because what if they have a dream and you could help them become a part of the union and start getting better? This is the difference. Background as a union, you could get like $300 for the day, whereas like non-union could get like $180 for the day. That's a huge difference. Union, if you're there for more than 8 hours, if you're there for between 8:01 and 10 hours, you're getting time and a half. And then you go up there, it's double time. And then if you're there for 16 hours or more, you're getting day rate, which means you're getting whatever your day rate was, which could be $200 or $300, and you get that per hour. Non-union can't do that. So by helping people get into the union, they have a chance to ultimately say, oh, I think I can make money doing background to afford me a chance to be in the industry, to get to meet people. But if the union or anybody is like, no, here's more red lights and paperwork, like, no, we don't want everybody. Maybe that person who wanted a chance is demystified or whatever. I just get so upset about this. I'm so glad I don't. But imagine you have a dream and someone says no, and then you're just like, you just needed someone to say yes, and then maybe you would have completely succeeded. Maybe you would have stepped into it. And I was helping so many people get their union card, and then they put that stupid thing up, and whatever. I'm actually hopeful about AI. AI can be useful, but I think AI as a quick fix, maybe not so much. I'll be able to make a movie in my bedroom. Well, the video element of it, that's pretty insane, but we'll see how it goes. Hey, NPC! And it will probably be better than the slop we're getting from Hollywood. I mean, we are getting slop from Hollywood. Been there, done that, Afghani. And thank you for your advice, Tom. Yeah, anytime, man. You know, I'm always doing what I can to ultimately, it's all about love. And it's all about, options. I missed the grind, the sets, the people, the jobs. I remember I got 3 waivers and was ready to join the union. Then March. Oh, that's right. You were still not in the union at the time. But Nate, if you're still watching, right? Like what did like non-union get for background? Like what was like your day rate for about? It wasn't a lot. I mean, to be on set. To be fair, on set they feed you. They do the transportation in some points. It's all very possible. It's good money, in that sense. But thanks for the example, Thomas. Have to rewind to that part after. It was difficult to hear and focus on it. Yeah, anytime. Am I still acting? The answer to that is no. I stopped producing, I stopped acting, and I stopped writing screenplays and stuff. Like I stepped away from the industry. I've talked about this, but basically what happened is COVID happened. Then I literally lost both my parents, and then I lost my dog, and that was the thing holding me together, and I just collapsed, and I took a break from life. But I started doing this channel, the Right Mindset, and I started focusing on full-time novelist. I started being an editor. So my first big book is out. I got the epic fantasy books coming. I got a couple more self-help books coming, and I've been doing pretty well. I've been teaching writing. I get hired to do like writing spots all over where I live, and I've been developmental editing. I still develop screenplays, like I do, and I do pitch decks. I do like some stuff, but I'm not actively trying to get it, but if people come to me, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I kind of stepped away a little bit, but I miss it, but I don't, like I miss what it was. I miss the people. I definitely miss my friends. But at the same time, I don't live in New York anymore. So, whatever. At the time it was $168 for 10 hours. Union, you get 8 hours and it's almost $300, and so it's good to be in a union, and I always wanted to help, whatever. I was told no. Dreams stomped on, fecked me up for 50 years. That's the thing, I talk about this in the book, actually. I don't know, Ro, if you're still listening, if Ro got to that part, but I talk about how, like, everybody who has a dream is told to have a plan B. That I want to be an actor, I want to be a writer, I want to be a musician. That's great, but have a plan B and get your degree, or become a tradesman or whatever. And in reality, your plan B should just be another way to get to plan A. Because if your plan A is to become a writer or a musician or whatever, and you're focused on plan B to make sure that if plan A fails, you could be a teacher, or you could be, an engineer, or you could be a doctor. You know how much time it takes to make sure plan B works? If you put that same amount of time into plan A works. It becomes a writer. But again, these are kids being told this. So when you're like still living at home and you're 15, you're like, I want to be an actor. And your parents are like, you should have a plan B. So now everything you do is to make sure plan B works. So now you're putting in all this time, and meanwhile at 15, you could be putting time into saving up money for your financial foundation, so you could have startup capital when you are old enough where your parents are like, get out! But you have money to survive and support. You know, you should be building your network. You should be marketing your brand and getting involved in that industry. Even because if you live with your parents, you can volunteer for free and you just get involved. But as you get older, it gets harder. But even if you're in your 20s or your 30s or 40s or 50s, you need that financial foundation. But it is horrible that people say, have a plan B. I never understood that. I never had a plan B to do anything other than be in the entertainment industry. I wanted to be an artist. I became an illustrator for comics. I wanted to be a musician. I got into that world. I became a successful musician, retired after 10 years. I wanted to become a comedian. I toured. I performed. I got paid. I wanted to become an actor. Same thing. You know, so I just had that mentality, like, there is no plan B. It's either this or nothing, you know? And I can't work for people. I don't even know. I can't even listen to my cousin when he tells me to clean the tents. I still don't know what I want to be. I want to be sedated. I want to be sedated. Flowers, you are already what you're supposed to be, which is an amazing person and a writer. Just keep it up. When I grow up, you're still growing up. You're still a child at heart. Come on. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I better find out. I have a big birthday coming up. You have a big birthday coming up? What are you going to be? You're going to hit your 21st birthday? I'm going to have to take you out to drinking. Oh, wait, where you're from, they drink at 60, right? Is there an age limit in Great Britain? Is there an age limit in Great Britain? I don't know that. I could look it up, obviously. But you're the horse's mouth. Understood, flowers. That's my question. What is it? 21st is the best. Trust me, I've had 45. It's funny. I never celebrated milestone birthdays. You know how like everyone's like, oh, Quinceañera, you know, or the 16, whatever. And then, 21. And then, whatever, 40. But I'm going to be 50 in 3 years. Less than 3 years. And I was thinking of celebrating that, but at the same time, should I break my stride and just not celebrate, and celebrate, or should I just be like, the hell with it? I'm just gonna keep going until I die and not celebrate my birthdays, because I don't really celebrate birthdays. Because, when you're growing up and your birthdays are not really birthdays, they were all about like, what kind of presents did you bring my son? And I'm like, I don't care, Mom. Stop talking to people like that. I gave your kids good presents, and you didn't give my kid good presents. You too, and what time is it? Oh, yeah, we gotta go. All right, let's see. We gotta close out this banner. So you gotta, and that's it. Yeah. Keep it up. Everything's going well. I will see you tomorrow at the 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's definitely going to be fun tomorrow. We are flying through the Write a Book with Me series. We are on we are in the third act, I believe, right? In the Zero Draft, the third act. Are we? Let me see. Are we flying through? Yeah, I think we are. Where are we? Let me see. Yeah, we're on chapter. Oh, we're actually at the end of Act 2. So we're on chapter 17. So we're about to the last 2 chapters of Act 2. So that's got me excited. All right, so there we go. I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just want to say, oh wait, we got an answer. We can legally get pissed at 18. All right, there you go. Well, in the States, you can go to war and die for your country at 18, but you can't drink until you're 23. You also can't have a cigarette until you're older. So that's always been interesting to me. However, anyway, much love to everyone. I had a really great time, as always. It's a blast to get to hang out with you on the weekends and interact with people, because during the week, I'm sitting in the Midwestern area of the States doing nothing. So much love to everybody. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. This is The Right Mindset. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.